Falcons' Cordarrelle Patterson made NFL history recently by setting the all-time record for kick return touchdowns. He gave fans the stuff of legends through his amazing performance, and many of us have been replaying it just to see it all once more. In today's video, we'll be going over some of the main details about his record-breaking kick return touchdown and much more. So let's dive right in. First off, Falcons' Cordarrelle Patterson sets all-time record for kickoff TDs. Cordarrelle Patterson has always been a special team star, but he made history recently by setting a record for kick return touchdowns. This was on a 103-yard return during the second quarter of the Falcons' 27-24 victory against the Chicago Bears. The return was huge for him as it broke the tie he'd previously had with Josh Cribbs and Leon Washington. Both of them had 8 kick return touchdowns over the course of their careers. His record-setting return was the stuff of legend. He started from the A in Atlanta's end zone, then he proceeded to take it out of the end zone and up to the middle of the field. After receiving a key block from Troy Anderson, he went through Chicago's coverage. Moving ahead, he dodged Bears kicker Cairo Santos and defensive back Elijah Hicks. This was when he realized he had the potential for a touchdown. From that point onwards, he continued to sprint like there was no tomorrow. Hicks almost managed to stop him, but a hair missed his attempt to dive at Patterson. Patterson later stated that Hicks must have been like 10 yards behind him, and he's super fast. Cordarrelle was glad Hicks didn't get him, despite the fact that he did it fantastically. Next, how did Patterson react to getting the record? At first, Cordarrelle stated that it didn't hit him that he now owned the record, but he mentioned that the realization would probably set in by the time he'd see his family later that day. He stated that the ball would probably end up going to his children. While exiting the locker room after the game, Cordarrelle briefly talked with Marcus Mariota. After that, he left with the legendary record-setting ball in his hand. We're not sure anyone expected Cordarrelle to be able to pull off such an amazing feat in this game. He fumbled on the run earlier in the same game, turning the ball over. This was a big issue for him, and it could even be seen that he looked fairly annoyed when he touched the ball the next time. Let's just say he managed to do more than make up for the early mistake. That said, he did mention that he wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't see many more returns for the rest of the season. But who knows? Could he end up breaking his own record? That'd be legendary. Moving on, NFL, the 13 most unbreakable records in NFL history. Starting off at number 13 is Flipper Anderson, 336 receiving yards in one game. Flipper Anderson of the Rams was neither a Hall of Famer nor one of the top receivers in the league, but he had one of the league's most underappreciated records. In a contest in November 1989, he hauled 15 receptions for 336 yards. In a single game, no other receiver has even reached 300 yards. On number 12, Jim Hardy, 8 interceptions in one game. In a 1950 game, Jim Hardy, the quarterback for the Chicago Cardinals, completed 8 passes to the Philadelphia Eagles. His squad lost 45-7, which is hardly surprising. And by the way, despite leading the league with 24 interceptions, Hardy was still chosen to play in the Pro Bowl that year. Moving on to number 11 is Don Hutson, 29 points in one quarter. Hutson is the all-time top wide receiver in catches, yards, and touchdowns. He also holds several of the league's most amazing records. Hutson is the best wide receiver in league history. He may have also had the greatest 15 minutes in football history. He received 4 touchdown passes and kicked 5 extra points in one quarter of a 1945 game. More points were scored there than some NFL players score in a month. At number 10 is Peyton Manning, 121.1 passer rating in 2004. Peyton Manning has received 4 Most Valuable Player honors and is certain to set every significant passing record one day. Additionally, he guided the Colts to the playoffs 11 times while winning MVP of the Super Bowl. In his professional career, he's never missed a game and has participated in 11 Pro Bowls. But his 121.1 passer rating in 2004, when he passed for 4,557 yards and 49 touchdowns, was undoubtedly his most remarkable achievement. Tom Brady challenged Peyton Manning's record in 2007 with a mark of 117.2, but Brady's season was exceptional. And you might be surprised by how much the 3.9 differential in their passer ratings means. Up next on number 9 is Jerry Rice, 1,549 catches, 22,895 yards, 197 touchdowns. No receiver could surpass any of Jerry Rice's 3 receiving records, despite catching 100 catches for 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns over the course of 15 seasons. He is the second greatest receiver in NFL history, with 447 catches, 6,961 yards, and 44 touchdowns, more than any other receiver. Now that is an achievement. Following up at number 8 is Brett Favre, 336 interceptions. The NFL's all-time leader also holds a questionable record in completions, attempts, yards, and touchdowns. touchdowns. Of all players in league history, he has thrown 59 more interceptions. No quarterback will play long enough to reach 336 interceptions. Thus, Favre's record of 4 times leading the league in this category will stand forever. And number 7 on this list is George Blanda, 42 interceptions in 1962. Blanda threw 42 interceptions, 7 more than any other quarterback in history, just a year after producing one of the best seasons by a quarterback in league history. With only 47.1% of his passes completed, he had a 51.3 passer rating. The Houston Oilers still, somehow, managed to win 11 of their 14 games. Plus, at number 6 on this list is Don Shula, 347 coaching wins. Undoubtedly, one of the finest NFL coaches in history is Don Shula. He guided his teams to 5 Super Bowl trips with the Baltimore Colts and the Miami Dolphins, winning 2 of them. In his 32-year career, he has only had 2 losing seasons while winning 14 division titles. He had 347 wins when he retired. A coach would need to win 10 games each season for 35 seasons to surpass Shula's record. That's not going to take place. Following up on number 5 is Gale Sayers, 30.6 yards per kick return career. In his 6-year career, Sayers only brought back 91 kicks, but he returned 6 for touchdowns. He exceeded 30 yards twice and averaged an astounding 37.7 yards per kick return in 1967. He had returned kicks an average of 30.6 yards before he retired. Some returners failed to break off a 30-yard return for 2 or 3 games. Next, at number 4 on the list is O.J. Simpson, 143 rushing yards per game in 1973. O.J. Simpson, regarded as one of the best 5 running backs in league history, became the first player to carry 2,000 yards in a season in 1973, with a total of 2,003 yards. Amazingly, he accomplished this in 14 games, averaging 143 yards per contest. He had one of the best running back seasons in league history. To match O.J. Simpson's performance in today's 16-season game, a rushing back would require about 2,291 yards, which is 186 more than the 2,105 single-season records. Then, at number 3 on the list is Sid Luckman, 10.9 yards per pass attempt in 1943. The best quarterback season in league history belongs to Sid Luckman in 1943. He threw only 12 interceptions compared to 28 touchdowns and received a passing grade of 107.5. His absurd yardage per attempt average was 10.94. In what is perhaps the greatest single-game championship effort in league history, Luckman capped off his record-breaking season. Moving to the second spot on the list, Don Hutson and 8 touchdown titles. Imagine a player who 8 times led the league in touchdowns. Nowadays, the average athlete has just 8 successful seasons. How about 8 of the league's most successful seasons? Because Hudson is a wide receiver rather than a running back, his accomplishment is all the more amazing. We're truly a huge fan of his. Taking up the number 1 spot on this list is Otto Graham, 10 championship game appearances. John Elway, a quarterback for the Denver Broncos, took his club to the Super Bowl 5 times. He's the Super Bowl quarterback with the most appearances. Additionally, Graham has made half as many championship appearances. He took the Cleveland Browns to the NFL championship game 10 times in 10 seasons. 7 were wins for the team. His first 4 titles came from the inferior AAFC, but Graham showed his squad wasn't a pushover by capturing the title in his first year in the NFL. That's a wrap for this video. Which record do you think is the most amazing? Comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.